It's Thanksgiving time in the sartorial kitchen, and once again we are tackling leftovers. I've started off by deconstructing a classic green bean casserole two ways. First, it's a French fried green bean with a mayaracha dipping sauce. Next, it's turkey Swedish meatballs with a homemade mushroom gravy. And last but not least, it's dessert. I've turned a pecan pie into butter pecan ice cream. So why don't you pull up a chair and dine with me?
Sartorial kitchen, everybody. It is that time of year again, Thanksgiving, and you know what that means. Another leftover special on Thanksgiving. So I was writing this season out, and I was talking with one of my friends at the bar about it, and she said, you know what my least favorite dish from Thanksgiving is green bean casserole. Can you do something with that? I said, girl, I got you. So I was thinking about it. Green bean casserole is essentially 3 ingredients. Green beans, cream of mushroom soup, and French fried onion, which is what I'm working with right now, some fried onions. I've got my rolling pin here, I'm just crunching these down. Now when we do Thanksgiving, I usually do a big mess of beans out of the garden. Big pot of beans, throw in a ham hock, some onions, some potatoes, and those cook for a while. Lots of flavor. Don't normally have the casserole, but I have had it before, and I'm just crunching these down. So the first dish, I'm using 2 components, the green beans and the French fried onions. It's going to be a fried green bean, and I'm going to make a little sriracha, mayaracha, if you will, to dip it in. So I just want to crunch these good so I can stick my beans to them. But here we go. I'm just getting my dredge station set up. I've got a little flour here. Now we're going to add our onions. Very nice. Alright, so that's our onion topping. Now for our eggs, I've got a few eggs here and just a little bit of water. And I'm just going to stir those up. That's going to help bind our onion topping. Okay, that's good. I've already got a pot here going with some oil in it. Alright, so I just want to lay a plate out and some paper towel to drain the grease. Nobody wants greasy green beans. And speaking of green beans, ta-da! Don't these look gorgeous? My last harvest out of the garden, I had some beans come up early in the summer, and I was able to do a second planting. Now you can eat these as is. They're perfectly edible. But I am going to come in here with a knife, and I'm just going to trim the ends off of here, the stems. Got some long pieces here. If you want, you can kind of trim them down to size, so they all kind of cook the same. Now, I did rinse these off, and I've just let them sit in this colander so they can kind of dry. If your beans are wet, they're really not going to stick to the dredge too well. So I just kind of let them kind of sit and do their own thing. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready for the fryer now. I've got my little assembly line set up here. And we're just going to come in here with some clean hands, roll up my sleeves just a little bit, and we'll drop some beans down in the flour. And I just want to get a nice even coating on the bean, and then it's going to go in our egg wash, and then down into our onions, and you can kind of move it around so you get a nice helping of onion on the bean, and then drop that right into our fryer. I just want to take my spider here. We're going to pull our first beans out. They look pretty good. Nice bit of color on them, but not too much color. We're going to move on to our condiment. It is a mayo racha. I just want a little for taste. But this is also, I didn't mention this earlier, it is a great appetizer food. If you're doing like party foods, appetizer foods, the beans are perfect. It's a healthier option. Beans are better for you than like a French fry or something like that. Basically I'm going to do about a 1/4 cup of mayonnaise here. Just enough for taste. You can double this recipe here if you're feeding a larger crowd. I've got some garlic paste here. About a 1/2 teaspoon of that. And then the sriracha. I don't like too much heat, so I'm just going to do a couple squirts just to give it some color and give it a little heat. I'm going to give that a stir. And I love it. Turns that kind of light pink color. And that is our mayo racha. Time to get out our last bit of beans. I'm going to go and turn my heat off here. And pull these babies out. I like using the spider so I can drain the grease even further. This aside. Let that cool down. And there we have it. French fried green beans. Alright, now, if I were serving this for a party, something fancier, I would get a nicer plate, something oval where I can fit all these around. I'd make a little bit more sauce, I'd set it in the middle, kind of set the scene. But like I said, it's just for me, so no need to get too fancy. Alright, I'm just gonna grab a few beans here and come in for a taste. And just look at that. Nice, crisp. You can see that light coating and then the French fried onion. So I'm just going to come in here to our mayo racha. So good. So many textures. You get the crunch of the bean itself. And those just came straight out of my garden. I didn't blanch them or anything first. They're plenty edible as is. You just kind of want them warm. You also get the crunch of the French fried onion. Ladies and gentlemen. It gives you that kind of onion flavor as well. There's some saltiness. And then the dipping sauce. Mayo's good on everything. And just jazz it up with some garlic and some heat. So good. A perfect way to utilize the green beans and the fried onions. And a wonderful little party food. Alright guys, time for the main course. I said I was doing something different with a classic Swedish meatball. So Swedish meatball, if you're not familiar, they're just, little meatballs and they're in a mushroom sauce. So I thought, when I was putting this recipe together, and my friend had asked about repurposing the green bean casserole, I thought, what do you do with cream of mushroom soup? And the only thing I could think of really was Swedish meatballs. But I thought, we're not going to use that canned sauce. Yawn, we're going to make our own. But before we can sauce our meatballs, we have to have meatballs. So I've got some turkey here. I love to save the carcass. I've already gotten my bone broth. This is the meat that I picked off of the carcass. That's going in my food processor. It's thick. And usually I use a ground meat when I'm doing meatballs. So we're going to run it through the food processor first. So I've got the turkey here. We're going to do some salt. Couple teaspoons of salt. We're making a lot of meatballs here, so we need a lot of seasoning. And then about a teaspoon of pepper. And that's it for that. Everything else is going to be in the sauce. Now I just want 2 eggs here. That's 1 and 2. Make sure we're watching for eggshells. Nobody wants eggshells in their meatballs. Okay, I've already got my skillet going here with some oil. Just enough to lightly fry the meatballs. And then I've got some breadcrumbs here. These are panko, which is a Japanese style breadcrumb. It I like the texture it gives. And I'm going to use the rest of this container. That's about about a cup and a half. And on it goes. And we're just going to puree this until we get that consistency we're looking for. I don't want to go too fine. I want them to have a little bit of texture still. But I want to have something I can work into a ball. Alright. Now that we've got the turkey chopped up a little, I'm going to add just a little milk. About a 1/4 cup. And that's really going to help bring everything together. And it's also going to make everything nice and moist. And we'll just give that one last pulse. Okay, that looks pretty good. I don't want to mix it too hard because I still want the turkey to have a little bit of texture to it. I think that's pretty good. Okay, I'm going to move that aside. And this guy can come off. I've already got the oil going. It's nice and warm. Right, I think we're ready. I got my scoop here. I'm just going to come in here. And I love using an ice cream scoop, because then you know that everything's going to be the same size. And these are going to be nice, nice medium size. You can use a smaller scoop if you want. And I'm just going to space these out evenly. I do not want to overcrowd my skillet, otherwise my balls are going to steam and they're not going to fry. And I want them to get a nice crisp crust on them so they can stand up to the sauce. Otherwise it's just going to be soggy. And I like a lot of different textures going on with my food. I'm just going to spread these out. Now you'll start to see a little browning on the edge. That's when you know these are ready to flip. And what's great about using the turkey off the carcass, it's already cooked. So if I were using ground turkey, I would have to just cook these just long enough to get a crust on the outside, and then I would have to finish them off in the oven because they would not finish cooking in the middle before they would get too done on the outside before they finished cooking in the middle. And while my balls continue to cook, I'm going to prep the veggies for my mushroom sauce. Again, you can use the canned cream of mushroom, but you know, sometimes I have to be a little extra. So I've got some garlic here. Yes, this is garlic out of my garden. I'm peeling the skins off, and then I'm just going to cut off the ends. They're a little strong. Just come down and slam with your knife, and that garlic will bust open, and you can peel that skin right off. I'm using 4 cloves. Garlic's a little strong, and I'm making, I really want the mushroom to be more the focus of the sauce than the garlic per se. So I'm just doing 4 cloves, and one more here. Beautiful, comes right off. Now we're going to mince this, because again, garlic's really strong. Nobody wants to bite into a big piece of garlic. So I just kind of come through on the side here and cut little slivers. And then we're going to come back in here with our knife, and I'm just going to kind of go back and forth. Best way to do this is to keep your hand down on the tip of the knife and just run your knife back and forth like this. You avoid getting cut that way, and you can kind of control the knife better. Continuing with our vegetables, I have a shallot here. Take one end off. Not the end with the hair on it, because that holds the shallot together so you can slice and dice without it falling apart on you. But you do want to make sure you get the skin off. The skin is inedible. Swedish meatballs, that is another one of those dishes that is like a great party food. You can throw it in the crock pot. It's like a one and done. A lot of people cheat. They'll buy like the already made meatballs, the frozen meatballs, and they'll just throw in the canned sauce. I'm not judging here. And it sounds like I am. Okay, shallot time. Now shallot, it's just like an onion. It cuts the same. I think the shallot's a little sweeter. So I like using them for different things. It goes great with garlic and mushroom. And we just slide crossways on the shallot, horizontally and then vertically. And there's our shallot. I would say these are ready to come out. They're nice. They're firm, but they're not too hard. So yeah, just nice and tender. That's what we want. They got some good color all around. Nice crisp crust. Beautiful. Oh, they smell so good, you guys. I wish you could smell this. Alright, our last batch is going in right now. So this recipe, I had about 2 pounds of turkey altogether. And it's going to make about 2 dozen or so, depending on exactly how much turkey you have left or how big you make the balls. If you use a smaller scoop, of course you're going to end up with a bigger yield. These are going to fry. I'm going to work on my mushrooms now. These are just button mushrooms or white cap mushrooms. You can use whatever mushroom you like. I didn't want to go too fancy on the mushroom. And I'm just kind of slicing lengthwise. Nice little kind of paper thin. I want everything nice and small so it all cooks the same. And these mushrooms, these are not out of the garden. I do not grow my own mushrooms. These are from the store. They're perfectly fine. You just want to make sure you rinse them first, which I have. Sometimes they have little bits of dirt on them. We don't want dirt in our mushroom sauce. These are ready to come out. I'm just going to use what oil I have here, because it already has all that beautiful turkey flavor in it. And we're just going to throw our veggies in. I'm going to start with my mushrooms. And then the shallots and the garlic. Now normally, I would tell you to wait and add your garlic last, but everything I've chopped really small is going to cook relatively quickly. You see the mushrooms are starting to get a little color on them. Just kind of move that around. Continuing with our seasoning, some salt here, and some pepper. And just continue to give that a stir. Let those mushrooms cook down. What's nice about the mushrooms, they're kind of like a sponge. They absorb flavor really well. And as they cook down, they're going to get nice and soft and tender. Alright, everything's got that rich caramel color. The shallots and the garlic give you a wonderful aromatic. I wish you guys could smell what's going on in this kitchen. It is amazing. So, we're basically going to do a roux here. I've got the oil. I'm just going to get a couple tablespoons of flour. That's going to thicken up what we've got going on here, so we can make a bit of a gravy. Now, traditionally, the cream of mushroom, you would add to that like a beef stock, because it's usually beef meatballs or pork meatballs. And we're doing turkey here, so I've got some stock. I told you guys I made my bone stock from the carcass. That is always my favorite thing to do with the carcass. Every year, neighbors, family, they just throw away the carcass. I'm like, what are you doing? You can do so many things with the carcass. Okay, so you just want to cook the flour long enough that you get rid of that raw flour taste. But you don't want the flour to burn, because then your sauce is going to be bitter. Now to this, it's a half cup of stock I've got here. Pour that right in. And I'm going to let that cook down some, and then I'm going to finish it off with some sour cream, because that is traditional for a Swedish meatball sauce. And I'm just going to stir this around until it incorporates with the flour and everything else. And it's going to start to get nice and thick as it reduces. And make a bit of a gravy. It already is. Awesome. Sour cream, you just need like a couple tablespoons. Just enough to give it some tang and give that sauce a nice kind of luscious creaminess. And we're done with that guy there. And then we're going to stir this in. You just want to make sure it's well incorporated with everything else. That sauce is good. I'm going to go ahead and take that off the heat. So for myself here, I'm just going to plate some of that sauce on the bottom of the plate. And we'll grab some of our balls. Now all we need is a fork. Perfect. Look at these. Are they not beautiful? Nice crust, and then you've got that creamy sauce on the bottom. So good. Let's dive right in. So good. You immediately, you can hear the crisp crunch of that outside layer of the turkey ball. That cream sauce is so good. It's luscious, it's creamy. The garlic, the shallot, and the mushroom just really play well together. It's a lovely little friendship this sauce is making. Absolutely delicious. Alright guys. Last but not least, it is dessert. I'm turning pie into ice cream. So stay tuned. Welcome back everybody. Last but not least, it is dessert. And I've done two Thanksgiving leftover specials before, but I have never repurposed any desserts. So I thought this would be a fun time to do something a little different. And it is a no-churn ice cream. This one I'm flavoring with some leftover pumpkin pie. So, to start, it's 2 cups of heavy whipping cream and a container of sweetened condensed milk. That is your basic base for any no-churn ice cream recipe, and then you can kind of flavor it how you want. I'm doing a simple vanilla ice cream to start, and then I'm going to fold in my pumpkin pie. And you may need a spoon to get all this out of here. Sweetened condensed milk, I love it. It's great for baking. It makes a really simple fudge, and it's perfect for this recipe. If you don't have an ice cream maker, or you don't want to, mess with tempering the eggs, this is a fun and quick and easy substitute. Okay, so that is my heavy cream, my sweetened condensed milk. I'm going to add a little vanilla extract. I want this to have lots of flavor. And just a teaspoon. Okay, so I have my pecan pie here. This is one of my aunt's specialties. I love the filling. It almost has like a caramel-like consistency. And of course you could always just make the ice cream as is and pair it with the pie, but where's the fun in that? So I'm separating the pecans first, because I want to fold them in separate. They're not going to do well in my stand mixer. And also the crust, which I'm also going to fold in, because it's going to add a lot of nice texture to our ice cream. So I'm going to cut this crust off. Make sure we get all of the pecans. Okay, now we'll just grab this. I'm just going to scoop our filling and plop it right down into our ice cream base. And same thing with this piece. Okay, now we get our hand mixer out. And I'm just going to start on a low setting. Okay, that looks pretty good. We'll get rid of the beaters there. Now for the rest of our ingredients, I'm going to just kind of chop up this crust here, just a rough chop. I think the crust and the pecans, it's going to add a nice texture to the ice cream. And that's one of the reasons I like butter pecan, is because of the texture. And then the nuts, they're already kind of chopped. And I'm just going to dump that right in. Yum. Make sure we get all that goodness off of the knife there. Alright, I'm going to grab a spoon now. And I'm just going to fold those ingredients into the ice cream. I wanted to do it separately because I didn't want the pecans and the crust to gum up my mixer. So we're just going to fold that in. If you like soft serve, you could almost serve it like this, but I want a nice kind of firm product. So I'm going to cover this in some wrap, and it's going to go in my deep freeze at least 2 hours if you have a deep freeze. If you have just a regular freezer, it's going to take closer to 5 hours, 5.5 hours. So I will see you guys then. Alright guys, at long last we have our ice cream, and I could not be more excited. So I've got a bowl here. I just need my ice cream scoop. Let's get in here and get a nice, yeah. It's still a little soft, but it is nice and firm. And a spoon here, and just take a look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? You can see all the little flecks of the crust and the pecans. Oh, so good. Sweet, but not too sweet. You get that nice caramelized flavor from the filling. And you can hear the crunch of those pecans and the pie crust. So good, you guys. Now that is what I call a Thanksgiving dessert. So once again, I want to thank you for joining me in the sartorial kitchen. Please like and subscribe at the bottom. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And until next time, bon appetit.